Hey, Talofalava. Leitao with Dr. John Peterson here with TE2 Edge Sports Cards. Hope everybody's doing good out there. It's Saturday, and figured I'd jump on a video here. Hit the subscribe, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Don't need to go over that too much or in depth. You can also check us out on myslabs.com. Just put TE2 in the search bar and hit return. You can also check us out on eBay at RJP2532. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of YouTube content here I always watch a lot of YouTube content regarding sports cards and more specifically vintage sports cards. Kind of my sweet spot really is vintage baseball. I really look at picking up cards mostly between 53, 54, 55, all the way up to 61. Yeah, 60, 61. I don't really do a ton in the early to mid 60s for baseball. Don't do a lot in the 70s. My sweet spot really is 55, 56, 54, 53, 57, 58, 59, and 60. So I love watching content. If you haven't checked out I'm not sure what his name is. I think he calls himself the Super Wade Boggs fan. He's got a great YouTube channel. Love that channel. And I've been really enjoying his content. He's got an excellent voice for radio. I don't know if this guy, what his real name is, but I found him through Bench Clear Media, Mike Moynihan stuff. He had him on, did a little interview. So if you haven't heard of Bench Clear, check them out. Mike Moynihan stuff is good. Chasing Cardboard's great. Love that program. And also love the Wade Boggs Superfan YouTube channel. Love it. So also really appreciated what Mangini had to say on his YouTube channel the last few days. Some people were saying he went on a rant. That wasn't a rant. Dude was speaking the truth. He was preaching and teaching, and more people should listen. I think one of the issues is that it's not only about the cards. I mean, I agree with everything that Mangini said. I mean, the prices are getting ridiculous, and they're just like sucking us for every single penny that we have, whether it's like he said through grading or through sleeves or through boxes. And I'm guilty. I'm just as guilty as anybody. Look at the stack of graded cards I've got here. But I also think part of it is there are people who are in the sports card hobby who aren't fans of the actual sports. Like, they don't even follow the teams because they're fans of, in my case, the Bucks, the Brewers, and the Packers. So they don't even know the teams. They don't have a connection to being a fan of that team. And so to me, sports cards are a reflection in many ways of a person's passion about following their team. Like for example, Derek Jeter in the Yankees. Back in the mid to late 90s and early to mid 2000s, they were a dynasty, by far the best baseball team, better than the Red Sox, better than the Cubs, of course, better than the White Sox and different teams. But there's a certain element of loyalty that goes into being a fan of a team. And, not just players. It's fun to follow individual players, of course, don't get me wrong. Loved Kirby Puckett. Even though I hated the Twins growing up, I loved Kirby Puckett, right? Because just what an incredible player. I mean, the things that he was able to do, he single-handedly carried the Twins to the 91 World Series in Game 6 when he basically pointed to his back and said, "Get on my back." So stories like that resonate. And the team is really what it's about, because these sports are all team sports, unless you're in like tennis cards and golf cards and stuff like that. So for me, I love the team. Now, some of these older vintage cards, I wasn't alive at that time, but I can appreciate the cards both aesthetically for the beauty that they have, but also for the connection that they have to the teams of that era. So like 1956, Mantle won the Triple Crown. If I'm not mistaken, the Yankees won the World Series. Was that the same year that Don Larson pitched a perfect game? I mean, So you got to know some of the history. You got to know some of the teams. You got to have some. You got to do some study. I mean, honestly, if you didn't grow up with it, you have to put in some time. Otherwise, it can ring false, and it can become really, truly just about flipping cards and making money, and it becomes more about money and less about the cards. So in that regard, I have heard on some different YouTube channels um, people mispronouncing players' names from the past. Like, this isn't a super criticism of Jeff and Sports Card Investor, excuse me, because I think they've got some really good content. I really enjoy watching their channel. I don't watch everything, but a lot of it I think is good, and I think Jeff is a genuinely good person. I don't think he's out to stick it to people or rip people off or anything like that. And believe you me, there are a lot of shysters out there in the hobby, and there always have been. But I was watching one time, and he had a Milwaukee Brewer card. It was a card of Robin Yount. And growing up, Robin Yount was my hero. I mean, I wanted to be like Robin Yount, play shortstop for the Milwaukee Brewers, later on center field when he transitioned from shortstop to center. But he pronounced Robin Yount's name as Robin Yount. So to me, that was I kind of chuckled at that, because I was like, well, he's a big sports fan and collector, but he doesn't know how to accurately pronounce Robin Yount's name. Now, is that a huge deal? No, it's not a big deal. And it's not something that I'm going to pin on Jeff and say, like, well, I'm not going to watch his program, or he's not legit, or whatever. But what I'm saying is that you got to put some time in to learn about the hobby, and then the teams and the sports and the loyalties that go along with particular cards, and particular cards of players from different teams. The Chicago Bears. I've got this, showed this in the last video. Got a copy of this 86 McDonald's All-Star card of Walter Payton. Growing up, when I was a kid, Walter Payton, man, everybody wanted to be Walter Payton. Everyone wanted the Kangaroos tennis shoes, and a Super Bowl shuffle, and the 85 Bears, 15-1, and on and on and on. His nickname was Sweetness. He, I think, was from Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. He used to run up that hill back in the day. So even though I wasn't a Bears fan, I can appreciate this card based on what I experienced of watching the Bears play the Packers back in the day. The Packers were terrible in the 80s. So how was it that I wasn't going to have a little bit of love for the Bears? So anyway, I guess a lot of it has to come down to like what you want to do. And I think Mangini, the way he put it, was perfect. Do what you want to do. But when you get to a certain level as a social media influencer, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or YouTube, you do take on some responsibility to people, not only yourself, but the people that you surround yourself with, and the viewers and the watchers. And what you say and what you do influences others. Don't kid yourself that it doesn't. Even if you say, well, I didn't say to not buy that card. If you're doing it in such a way that influences people to want to do something, you're having an impact. So my thing would be, come from the heart, be pure about what you're trying to do, admit when you make a mistake. How many mistakes have I made? I mean, I call it taking the L. How many losses have I had in cards over the years? More than I can count. But it's a learning process. So you have to fail a little bit. Just be honest and upfront about it. Don't edit that out. Be cool and say, hey, listen, I bought thousands of these, overpaid for them, and now I'm going to have to figure out how I can make some of that money back and still enjoy interacting and engaging with these cards, which I still do. Even though I paid more than probably what I should have, I still enjoy looking at these cards because they're so unique and they're so cool and relatively rare and high grade. So, and then when it comes to the ungraded, graded debates, man, it's all a matter of preference. If you've got the money and you want to have cards graded, get them graded. I typically grade cards because through my business, I can deduct the expense through a professional service. So I can help reduce my adjusted gross income and my net income, which is a positive thing because it means I pay a little bit less in taxes by having stuff graded. So all the fees from eBay, the fees that go into getting cards graded, the supplies, all that sort of thing, those are all deductible expenses for me as a business owner. So it makes good business sense for me to get cards graded. Now, do I get every card graded? Absolutely not. I don't give it every. I mean, look at these. These are all cards that you probably have seen, but I don't think I'm going to get these graded. These postcards. The feedback that I got from folks was, if you're going to grade any, grade the Mays and grade the Aaron's. But other than that, send them in a PSA. But other than that, let the other ones go. They look fine the way they are. Plus, a lot of these people who collect these post sets, they want them raw. These 52s, yeah, I don't think I'm going to get them graded at this point. You know, I just don't think it's necessary. So I guess my point is, if you like to have your cards in slabs, put them in slabs. If you like to have your cards in binders, put them in binders. If you want to have them in Ultra Pro card savers, go for it. Whatever it is that is going to get you to enjoy interacting and engaging with the cards, do that, right? If you don't like having them in binders, get them out of the binders. I mean, I don't really look at cards in binders a whole lot, although I do have cards in binders, you know? So for me, it's really about taking this piece and being able to hold it in my hands and aesthetically look at the card and look at the Say Hey Kid and that awesome smile he's got there and the super cool action photo of him sliding into what looks like to be home plate. I mean, and the way the flip accentuates the black in the ball cap. I mean, it's just gorgeous to me. It's like artwork, you know? And I remember he hit 660 home runs, you know, played for the Giants, played for the Mets, played like 24 seasons or some crazy amount of seasons like that. Made the basket catch. I mean, like, so for me, when I look at this card, I think of Vic Wertz when he hit that ball over Willie's head, and Willie Mays, the Say Hey Kid, made the basket catch. I mean, it's just an amazing catch. It's like an iconic, classic moment in baseball history. And then at a deeper level, it reminds me of times with my father growing up when I was a kid, when we would go down to the ballpark and we would do a workout, and he'd hit, I'd hit, and always near the end of the workout, after we've done our fielding and our work in the cage and soft toss and batting practice, he'd say, "Hey, son, let's do Vic Wertz and Willie Mays." So he'd be Vic Wertz, or I'd be Vic Wertz, excuse me, and he'd be Willie Mays. And so I'd throw the ball up to myself and I'd hit it, and I'd try and hit it over his head just far enough so that he could run back and do a basket catch. So to me, that's the connection that I have with these cards. It reminds me of those types of things. Now, if you didn't have a relationship with your dad, or maybe you didn't have a dad, that's totally cool. Maybe you don't have that same feeling. Maybe your feeling is a different kind of way. But I think what Mangini was trying to say is feel something beyond just the money. Feel something beyond just the profitization of the cardboard, right? Feel something beyond that, whether it's a loyalty to a team that you love or loved, or a relationship you had with a family member or a friend around the sport. But get to some emotional and spiritual place with it beyond just, well, I'm going to buy this card and flip it, which is a part of it too. I mean, frankly, this card was an investment for me. I paid $2,200 for it, and right now I've got it on eBay for $42.50. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm in no hurry to get rid of it because I love it for collector reasons, in addition to having it as a business piece. So it doesn't have to be an either or. It can be both and. Try and reject the tyranny of either or and embrace the genius of both and. So that's kind of my little rant and soapbox. I'd love to hear your comments on what I said. I know some people are very much into grading and other people are less so. Hey man, it's cool by me. Whatever gets you to the point where you feel joy and enjoy being in the hobby with the cards, I say stick to that. All right, and so that's grading, then get your cards graded. If it's not, then it's not. If it's both, then do both. All right, enough of that. All right, so I have a special treat that I wanted to share with you today. One of the things that my father passed on to me when he passed on his collection to me were some very old The Sporting News magazines. And these are actually newspapers. So I wanted to share with you all a couple of these. These are from 1956. One of them is from July 11th, and the other one is from October 10th. All right, so this first one, I mean, these are, in my opinion, as cool, if not cooler, than the cards themselves. All right, here's the first one. Look at that. 1956. Musial, acclaimed player of the decade. Head and shoulders above all for 10 years. So this would be 44 to 55 were the years that they used for the analysis. So they basically said Musial's better than Williams, Jackie Robinson, better than DiMaggio, better than Johnny Mize, better than Robin Roberts, better than Bob Feller, better than Campanella, better than Hal Newhouser, and better than Berra, which incidentally, Berra won 3 consecutive MVPs. A lot of people don't know that. In the 50s, the early to mid 50s, Berra won 3 straight MVPs. I think it was 52, 53, 54, maybe 53, 54, 55, somewhere in there. Amidst all that, Musial emerges as the top player of that decade. So I just think the screen, the drawing and the printing on this is just incredible. So I opened this up before I went on camera just to kind of get a sense of what's in here. Look at this picture of Stan Musial. Stan as a Rochester Star. Oh my gosh. Yeah. How cool are these? The man. Stan, look at this one. Stan the man. The man in Navy uniform. He missed the 1945 season serving in World War II. I don't know, man. This kind of nostalgia, this kind of memorabilia, and I wasn't even born. This isn't even my era. Look at this. Picture at Griffith Stadium. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That's where the Senators played. Man, the big train, Walter Johnson down here in the bottom right. So I had to share this with you all. There's such cool pictures in these magazines. I've got a whole Tupperware bin of them. I mean, look at these. Jimmy Fox, Charlie Gehringer, Archie Vaughan, Stan Hack, Ted Williams, Dom DiMaggio. Yeah, very cool. So I figured I'd show you that one, and then I've got one other one I wanted to show you. This one is from October of 1956. This one is cool too. Oh my goodness. Mantle and Aaron, top players of the year. Are you kidding me? Look at how sweet this is. Big 4 of 56. So they've got Mantle, Aaron, Billy Pierce, and Don Newcomb. I think Newcomb won the MVP in 56 in the National League. I think Mantle won it in the American League because he won the Triple Crown in 56. Yeah. Oh, man. So cool. That is a golden era of baseball, for sure. I think like 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, maybe up to 60. I think that 10-year run was a golden era in American history. Not just in baseball, but for sure with baseball. Oh my gosh, just how many great players came out of that era. The Yankees, the Milwaukee Braves, Cleveland Indians. It says Triple Crown, not Babe's record, worried Mantle. Mantle 5th to top both leagues in home runs percentage and RBIs. Here, I'll read this quick. says Mickey Mantle is the 9th player to win the Triple Crown, but only the 5th to take it with a sweep of both leagues in homers, percentage, and RBIs. The switcher, Mantle was a switch hitter, was far ahead with 52 homers, which earned him a spot in the half-century club with Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Hank Greenberg, Hack Wilson, Ralph Kiner, Johnny Mize, and Willie Mays. When Ted Williams fizzled again against Yankee pitching in the final series, Mickey breezed to the hitting title by 353 to 345 for the Red Sox slugger. His closest fight came in the RBI department, where he stood 130 to 128 for Al Kaline. Mantle far outdistanced National League contenders in all 3 fields. In this, he emulated Ty Cobb of the Tigers in 1909, Rogers Hornsby of the Cards in 25, Lou Gehrig of the Yankees in 34, and Williams in 1942, each of whom topped both majors. And it goes on to talk a little bit more about the players who had won the Triple Crown up to 1956. Hornsby twice. Look at this. Hornsby won the Triple Crown twice, 22 and 25. Dude, Hornsby hit 42 home runs in 22? I had no idea he hit that many home runs in 39 and 25. And batted .401 and .403 in those 2 years. Hornsby's stat line for 22 is .401 batting average, 42 home runs, and 152 RBIs. Are you freaking kidding me? Rogers Hornsby is absolutely hands down the best second baseman to ever play Major League Baseball. There's not even a question about that. Like some people say Ernie Banks or maybe even Ryan Sandberg. No, Rogers Hornsby's the best. So anyway, without going on too long, I wanted to share these. If you or anyone you know has any idea of what kind of value these have, I would be curious to know about that. But I suppose for me, the value is priceless because so few people have these. And I've got a whole Tupperware bin of them. So, all right. Hope you all have a blessed rest of the day. I'll see if I can jump on, maybe do another video a little bit later. But appreciate each of you. God bless. Peace out. And one love.